Hey there folks! Today we're diving deep into the world of submarines, those underwater warriors that operate in secrecy and silence. And when it comes to packing a punch, nothing says move out of the way like a torpedo. These underwater missiles are the primary weapon of submarines designed to sink enemy ships and submarines. Torpedoes are a critical part of naval warfare. They are essentially underwater rockets, packed with explosives and incredibly sophisticated guidance systems. These things don't just go in a straight line, they can track targets, adjust their depth, and even outsmart countermeasures. So, how do these underwater weapons get launched from a submarine that's already submerged? Let's just say it's a bit more complicated than just opening a window and chucking one out there. Stick around and we'll break it down for you. Alright, so you've got this metal tube filled with a torpedo, and it's inside a submarine that's underwater. Sounds like a recipe for disaster, right? Well, that's where torpedo tubes come in. These are carefully engineered chambers that allow a submarine to fire a torpedo without flooding itself. Think of it like a high-tech airlock. Here's the basic idea. A torpedo tube has two hatches, an inner hatch that seals off the torpedo inside the submarine, and an outer hatch that keeps the ocean out. To fire the torpedo, the inner hatch is open, flooding the tube with water. Once the pressure inside the tube matches the pressure outside, the outer hatch opens, and the torpedo is propelled out using compressed air or even a small explosive charge. It's a delicate dance of pressure and engineering, but it's the key to unleashing a torpedo's destructive power. Now, you might be thinking, why go through all that trouble? Why not just attack from the surface? Well, submarines are all about stealth, and that means staying hidden beneath the waves. Plus, it turns out that submarines are actually faster underwater than they are on the surface. How is that possible? Well, it all comes down to hydrodynamics, the science of how things move through water. On the surface, a submarine has to push through waves and air resistance, which creates a lot of drag. Underwater, however, the submarine is surrounded by water, which is much denser than air. This allows the sub to slice through the water with less resistance, making it faster and more maneuverable. It's like the difference between running through mud and swimming in a pool. One is a whole lot easier than the other, and when you're trying to avoid detection, easier is definitely better. Submarine design has come a long way over the years. Early submarines were essentially underwater boats, with limited underwater speed and endurance. They were noisy, cramped, and about as comfortable as a tin can. Modern submarines, on the other hand, are technological marvels. They're designed with sleek, hydrodynamic hulls to minimize drag and noise. They're powered by nuclear reactors that allow them to stay submerged for months at a time. And they're packed with advanced sensors and weapon systems that make them formidable opponents in any underwater battle. It's the difference between a Model T and a Tesla. Both will get you from point A to point B, but one does it with a whole lot more style and sophistication. The silent service life as a submariner. Now let's talk about the brave men and women who crew these underwater machines. Life on a submarine is not for the faint of heart. It's a demanding and dangerous job that requires incredible skill, discipline, and a healthy dose of claustrophobia. Submariners undergo rigorous training to prepare for the challenges of life underwater. They have to be experts in everything from navigation and weapon systems to nuclear engineering and damage control. They work long hours in cramped quarters, often with little contact with the outside world. But despite the challenges, submariners are a special breed. They're the silent guardians of the deep, always vigilant, always ready to defend their country. They are the embodiment of courage, dedication, and teamwork. Diving deep, the record-breaking Komsomolets. Speaking of courage, let's take a moment to appreciate the incredible feat of the Soviet submarine K-278 Komsomolets. In 1989, this titanium-hulled submarine set the world record for the deepest dive ever recorded by a military submarine. The Komsomolets plunged to a staggering depth of over 3,300 feet, more than half a mile below the surface. That's deeper than Mount Everest is tall. This record-breaking dive showcased the incredible engineering and the bravery of the submarine's crew. Sadly, the Komsomolets was lost in a fire later that year, but its legacy as a testament to human ingenuity and the pursuit of pushing the limits of exploration lives on. The right depth, modern subs, and strategic positioning. Now you might be wondering, if submarines can dive so deep, why don't they just stay at the bottom of the ocean all the time? Wouldn't that make them harder to find? Well, it's not quite that simple. While modern submarines are capable of diving to impressive depths, they don't always need to. In fact, operating at extreme depths can actually be a disadvantage. For one thing, it limits their ability to communicate with the surface. Modern submarines often operate at shallower depths, using the ocean's natural features like underwater mountains and currents to mask their presence. It's all about finding the right balance between stealth and operational effectiveness. Section 8. Powering the deep: nuclear versus diesel-electric. Another important factor in submarine operations is endurance, how long they can stay submerged without refueling. And when it comes to endurance, there are two main types of submarines: nuclear-powered and diesel-electric. Nuclear submarines are the marathon runners of the underwater world. They use nuclear reactors to generate electricity, which powers their propellers and all their onboard systems. These reactors can run for years without refueling, allowing nuclear submarines to stay submerged for months at a time, limited only by the amount of food and supplies they can carry. Diesel-electric submarines, on the other hand, are more like sprinters. They use diesel engines to generate electricity when surfaced or snorkeling, charging large battery banks. These batteries then power the submarine when it's submerged. Diesel-electric subs are quieter than nuclear subs when running on batteries, but they have a much shorter underwater endurance, typically only a few days or weeks. Section 9. Silent hunters, stealth and camouflage at sea. Now, let's talk about stealth. Submarines are all about staying hidden, and that means minimizing their acoustic, visual, and electromagnetic signatures. Think of it like playing a giant game of hide-and-seek, but with much higher stakes. To reduce their acoustic signature, submarines are designed to be as quiet as possible. They use special propellers, vibration-damping mounts for machinery, and even anechoic tiles on their hulls to absorb sound. The goal is to make the submarine as quiet as the surrounding ocean, making it incredibly difficult to detect using sonar. Visual camouflage is also important, especially when operating near the surface. Submarines are typically painted dark colors like black or dark gray to blend in with the deep ocean. They also operate at night or in poor weather conditions whenever possible, further reducing their visibility. And then there's electromagnetic stealth. Submarines are designed to minimize their electromagnetic emissions, such as radar and radio waves. This makes them harder to detect by enemy aircraft and ships using electronic sensors. Section 10. Seeing with sound, sonar, and the perils of shallow water. So, if submarines are so good at hiding, how do they find anything in the vastness of the ocean? The answer is sonar. Sonar, which stands for sound navigation and ranging, is like underwater radar. Submarines emit sound waves, and then they listen for the echoes that bounce back from objects in the water. By analyzing these echoes, sonar operators can determine the range, bearing, and even the type of object they're detecting. It's like seeing with sound. However, sonar has its limitations, especially in shallow water. Sound waves can bounce off the ocean floor, the surface, and other objects, creating false echoes and making it difficult to distinguish real targets from noise. This is why operating in shallow water can be particularly dangerous for submarines. Section 11. Conclusion: Guardians of the Deep. So, there you have it, a glimpse into the fascinating world of submarines and the underwater warriors who crew them. From the deadly power of torpedoes to the incredible depths they can dive, submarines are a testament to human ingenuity and the pursuit of technological advancement. These silent guardians of the deep play a vital role in naval warfare, deterring aggression and safeguarding our freedom. So the next time you see a submarine movie or hear about a submarine in the news, take a moment to appreciate the skill, courage, and dedication of the men and women who serve beneath the waves. They are the true heroes of the silent service.